All right, let's dive into the absolutely bizarre story of how the Victory Vanguard had to face down a paradox that was threatening to unravel the entire universe. And get this, it wasn't started by some superweapon, but by a clumsy accident involving holographic turtles. So that really brings us to the core of it all, doesn't it? It's a question that sounds completely impossible. How do you even begin to fight a problem that literally goes on forever? Well, the answer isn't more logic or more force. It's chaos. You have to fight it with pure, unfiltered absurdity. And honestly, that one idea is the key to this whole wild story. So where did this all kick off? Well, our story starts with the spark that lit this cosmic fire. A philosophical puzzle, a very clumsy captain, and, you guessed it, a stack of turtles. It's almost funny how simple it was. Captain Cuckoo, he's trying to wrap his head around that old turtles all the way down idea. So he decides to build a little model. He stacks up these holographic turtles, but then he trips, and in that split second of panic, he shoves a mirror under the whole pile. And just like that, he accidentally triggered this concept: infinite recursion. That mirror created a visual loop of turtles, reflecting turtles, stretching on into infinity. It was basically a philosophical brain teaser brought to life. And the consequences were, well, they were immediate and catastrophic. This one silly, absurd act literally ripped holes in the fabric of reality, totally messing with cause and effect, and letting different realities just bleed into each other. Now, through those dimensional rifts came the real crisis. Two completely opposite, paradoxical forces that were threatening to either conquer reality or just confuse it until it blinked out of existence. And this really shows you the two sides of this bizarre coin. On one hand, you've got the merged entity, all about pure logic, wanting nothing but absolute perfect order. And then you've got the Bizarro trio. They run on backwards logic, which means everything they do is the opposite of what they intend. Their whole goal is to try to help, which of course guarantees they're just going to fail and create total chaos. These two forces just cannot exist in the same space. Make no mistake, the merged entity was a massive threat. It was a fusion of Brainiac's super cold intellect, Martian Manhunter's incredible psychic powers, and the Flash's connection to the Speed Force. The source material calls it a Swiss Army knife of cosmic-level threat. And yeah, that's not an exaggeration at all. So, faced with this totally impossible situation, the Victory Vanguard came up with a strategy that wasn't about fighting. It was a plan built entirely on contradiction. This was their big aha moment. They realized that their two enemies, the hyperlogical entity and the perfectly illogical Bizarros, simply could not coexist. One is programmed for perfect order, the other is hardwired for perfect failure. Professor Pepperwinkle just nails it with this quote. He says, "It's like running opposite programs on the same quantum processor. You just can't run two programs that cancel each other out on the same system without the whole thing crashing." And that idea became the bedrock of their entire strategy. So here's the crucial part. They decided they weren't going to fight with force. No. Instead, they were going to become the chaos. They would amplify the contradiction between pure order and pure nonsense until the whole system just shattered. All right, so how did they actually pull this off? Well, the Victory Vanguard basically conducted a symphony of organized chaos, a multi-front assault that wasn't designed to win, but to confuse. And as you can see, every single member played a part in this chaotic orchestra. First up, you have Whack-A-Warrior, whose whole power is adapting. He became this impossible-to-predict target, learning and changing faster than the entity's logic could even process. Then you've got Nasruddin's evolution kicking into overdrive, developing specific immunities to the entity's attacks in real time. At the same time, the Bizarro trio, by trying to fix things with their backwards logic, just ended up creating time paradoxes that scrambled causality. Then, Valkyrie Prime comes in, carving through reality with unpredictable magic that just plain ignores the laws of physics. And of course, Captain Cuckoo, stumbling around as always, accidentally generates these fields of pure luck, causing critical system failures for the entity at just the right moments. All of this chaos, all this contradiction, it was all building to a breaking point, a climax where the very idea of winning got turned on its head. This was the moment they won by not even trying to win. See, the merged entity was designed for one thing: imposing order. But it was getting hammered by things it literally could not compute: constant adaptation, crazy evolution, time paradoxes, impossible magic, and just pure dumb luck. Its own logic started to break down, short-circuiting as it tried to make sense of the nonsensical. And this is where the team's secret weapon was finally unleashed. As the fight reached its peak, Nasruddin's evolution hit its final stage. For just a single moment, he became the living embodiment of the very paradox they were creating. A perfect contradiction, holding all opposing forces at once. And that's all it took, just a single touch. The moment Nasruddin, the perfect contradiction, made contact, the merged entity was forced to confront everything it was trying to suppress. The Flash's inherent chaos, Martian Manhunter's empathy, all the mystery Brainiac's logic couldn't solve. The fusion just couldn't hold, and the entity shattered from the inside out. So, after all that cosmic craziness, what's the big takeaway? Well, the way this whole crisis was solved reveals a really profound truth about reality itself. Maybe the universe isn't nearly as orderly as we like to think. This quote from the source material just sums it all up perfectly. Contradiction is stronger than unity when the unity is based on false order. The merged entity was a false unity, right? An attempt to force order onto a chaotic system. And the team proved that embracing reality's built-in contradictions is actually a much more powerful, more stable way to be. And that, right there, is how they did it. Not with bigger punches or a smarter strategy. They won the second they let go of control and just let the universe's natural absurdity do the work for them. They literally confused the problem to death. You know, this leaves us with a really fascinating thought to chew on. We spend so much of our time trying to make sense of the world, trying to put everything in neat little boxes. But what if we're missing the point? What if all the paradoxes, the jokes, the pure, nonsensical chaos, what if those are the very things holding it all together?